You would need to qualify, obviously, on all payments. Now, if there is rental income, you could use that to offset that mortgage payment. But yeah, you would need to qualify for the loans. But yeah, you would need to qualify. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about that, why someone would want to have multiple VA loans, and more importantly, how entitlement works, because you do have to understand entitlement to understand if this is a good idea. So why would someone want to have multiple VA loans? The VA is required to be on your primary residence when you get the loan, but if you need to sell the departing residence, you want to keep it, then there is a possibility you might want to have two VA loans at the same time in this short period of time, because oftentimes it's easier to buy the new house first and then sell the old house. That makes moving a lot easier. You're not dealing with two closings. It just streamlines that entire process. And so if that's your situation, there's good news. If you qualify for both payments and you have enough entitlement, then you could potentially have two VA loans at the same time. That is allowed in the VA guidelines. The other reason is you want to get rental income from the old house. You are allowed to rent out the old house, and that's a very common scenario. Oftentimes people are PCSing and they decide to create rental properties in all their old residences, and that's totally allowed. My grandfather actually did that. He was stationed at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi in the 50s. And they decided that they wanted to keep that as their long-term home, and they actually ended up retiring there. But for 20 plus years, they were PCSing all around the country in the Air Force, and they just rented out that old house. And then once it was time for them to retire, they just went and reclaimed their old house and moved back to Mississippi, and everybody was happy. So that's definitely one scenario. Or maybe you just like to get that rental income and potentially get a little more money when you sell the house later. Totally allowed. Other reason would be a VA foreclosure on file. Now, if you have a VA loan now, or you had a VA loan in the past and there was a foreclosure filed, what happens is there's something called a VA claim against your entitlement, which could potentially affect your remaining entitlement. And in that case, you do need to figure out how much that remaining entitlement is. Now, you could resolve that by doing a settlement of that old entitlement and clear it. It's called clearing the entitlement. That certainly is allowed. Or you could just figure out, okay, how much entitlement do I have remaining, and just roll with it as is and just have the old entitlement charge plus the new amount. So there is something called bonus entitlement. This all ties into this. Now, on bonus entitlement, there is a minimum loan size of $144,000. These days, obviously, most real estate is much more expensive than that. But keep that in mind if you're trying to buy a really small house on that bonus entitlement. Now, to figure that up, I actually created an entitlement calculator, and that is on my website at scarpero.com. I'm going to link a second video to this video.